What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Daniel Truefire Reacts, where every day is a sports day, the home of passionate football opinions, honest analysis, and everything South African sports.
Banyana are out of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, and honestly, I'm angry, I'm disappointed, and I'm frustrated because this didn't have to happen. Morocco have knocked out South Africa out of Wafcon 2026 after a 2-1 quarterfinal defeat. And congratulations to Morocco, they did what they had to do as hosts. But I'm not here today to talk about Morocco, because if we only blame Morocco for this elimination, we're missing the bigger picture. Banyana's tournament was damaged long before that quarterfinal, and today we're going to talk about exactly what went wrong. The poor squad selections, the questionable starting 11s, the substitutions, the failure to take control of the group, the devastating loss to Tanzania, why winning the group was so important, why facing Morocco was a nightmare compared with the alternative route against Algeria, and now why South Africa have been forced into a completely and absolutely brutal World Cup qualification playoff to qualify for a playoff against Nigeria's Super Falcons. Because this isn't just about Wafcon anymore. This is about whether Banyana will even be at the 2027 Women's World Cup. Let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious. Banyana are out. Morocco beat South Africa 2-1. And yes, Morocco deserve credit. They're the hosts. They had the home crowd behind them. They played with confidence, they took the opportunities, and when we're playing knockout football, that's what matters. Morocco scored twice and South Africa could only respond once. Thembi Kgatlana gave Banyana hope, but South Africa couldn't find the equalizer. And that is the brutal reality of knockout football. You don't get another game, you don't get another opportunity, you don't get to say, let's try again next week. You're out. But here's the thing, I don't believe Banyana lost this tournament against Morocco. Morocco delivered the final blow, but the problem started much earlier. Let's go back to the beginning. South Africa's tournament started against Tanzania, and Banyana lost 2-1. The result should be starting point of every serious post-mortem. Because people will look at that result and say, well, it was only the first game of the tournament. No. It wasn't only the first game, it was a massive opportunity lost. Banyana had the chance to start the tournament with 3 points. Instead, Tanzania stunned South Africa. Pambanani Mbani got the equalizer after Tanzania had taken the lead, but then came the killer. Tanzania scored late on to make it 2-1. Game over. And suddenly, Banyana were chasing the tournament instead of controlling it. This is what people need to understand. That defeat wasn't just about losing 3 points. It changed the entire philosophy and psychology of the tournament. If Banyana win that game, they start with confidence. They put pressure on their group opponents. They have breathing room. They have more margin for error. The players believe. The coach has more flexibility. But instead, the pressure immediately increases. Every game becomes more important. Every missed opportunity becomes more dangerous. Every goal conceded becomes more damaging. And suddenly, Banyana are playing catch-up. And that's why I believe Tanzania defeat was the first major turning point of this tournament. And this is where we need to talk about something that gets overlooked. Banyana didn't just need to qualify from this group. They needed to finish at the very top. Because in tournament football, where you finish can be just as important as whether you qualify. Winning a group gives you a potentially better route through the knockout stages. And for South Africa, that mattered enormously. Because the route offered a huge incentive. Avoid Morocco instead of potentially facing the hosts. Banyana could have faced Algeria. And let's be honest, if you're South Africa, which quarterfinal would you rather have? South Africa versus Algeria or South Africa versus Morocco? In Morocco, exactly. Let's be clear, Morocco aren't unbeatable.
Banyana had a chance, but there is no denying the circumstances. Morocco were playing at home. The stadium was behind them. The atmosphere was behind them. The momentum was behind them. And they had already established themselves as one of the strongest teams in African football for women. So why would you voluntarily make your road harder? You wouldn't. You want to avoid the host nation for as long as possible. You want to avoid the strongest possible opponent. You want the most favorable route to the semi-finals. And if the alternative is Algeria, you take it. Imagine the alternative. Just imagine how different this tournament could have looked. Banyana win their group. They get Algeria. They beat Algeria. Suddenly, they're in the semi-finals. And what happens? World Cup qualification. Automatic World Cup qualification. No playoff. No Nigeria. No one-match survival situation. No possibility of watching the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup from home. That is what was at stake. And this is why Tanzania becomes even more important. Because that first defeat put Banyana in a position where they couldn't control the tournament the way they wanted. The domino effect started. Tanzania, then the group, then the bracket, then Morocco, and now Nigeria. The chain reaction. Look at the sequence. Lose to Tanzania, pressure increases, less margin for error, failure to maximize the group position, a more difficult knockout route, Morocco, quarterfinal elimination, no automatic World Cup qualification, Nigeria playoff. That is why I'm saying the Tanzania defeat was more than just 3 points. It potentially changed the entire trajectory of Banyana's tournament. Now, let's talk about the squad selection. And this is where Desiree Ellis and the technical team need to answer some serious questions. Because let's be clear, this is not an attack on Desiree Ellis as a person. See, she's achieved incredible things with Banyana. She helped deliver the historic 2022 Wafcon title. She has helped South Africa become one of the leading women's football nations in Africa. She deserves that respect. But respect doesn't mean immunity from criticism. And this tournament raises questions. Was the squad selected correctly? Did South Africa have enough depth? Did they have enough players who could change games? Did they have enough tactical options? Because in a major tournament, you don't just need your best starting 11. You need a bench that can rescue you when plan A isn't working. You need different types of players, different profiles, different solutions, and that's where I think Banyana struggled. The starting 11. Because ultimately, we talk about the starting 11s. The coach has to pick the team. Against Morocco, South Africa went with a team containing experienced players like Thembi Kgatlana, Linda Motlhalo, and Refilwe Jane. There was quality on that pitch, absolutely. But the bigger question was that the best 11 for Morocco? Did Kasane had to play? Did the 11 give Banyana enough attacking threat? Did it give them enough pace? Did it give them enough creativity? Did it give them enough options when Morocco looked in control? Because once Morocco started dictating the game, South Africa looked short of solutions. You can have great players, but you don't put them into the right system, you can still struggle. The substitutions. This is where I'm going to be particularly critical. Because when you're losing a knockout game, time is your enemy. If you're 2-0 down, you can't sit there hoping something magically changes. You've got to make something happen. Change the shape. Change the tempo. Bring on players who can stretch their defense. Get more bodies forward. Why did Ludwig not come on? Force the opposition to think differently. And once Kgatlana scored to make it 2-1, the game was alive. But we brought on Donnelly when we had Ludwig on the bench. South Africa had momentum, but the second goal just never came. That's where you start questioning whether the changes were aggressive enough, whether they came early enough, whether the team was given time to even respond. In knockout football, waiting can kill you. And here's what concerns me the most. When plan A isn't working, what is plan B? Because Morocco were able to disrupt South Africa's rhythm. Banyana had periods of possession. They had moments. They had attacking opportunities. But they couldn't consistently break Morocco down. And when you get to this level, you need tactical flexibility. You can't just say, this is how we play, because your opponent is going to adjust. You have to adjust too. And now the consequences, because we have to get into that. And that's the part that hurts the most. Banyana didn't qualify automatically for the 2027 Women's World Cup. Instead, they have to go through the playoff route. And standing in their way is Nigeria, the Super Falcons, one of the biggest names in African women's football, the defending champions. And suddenly, this isn't just a Wafcon post-mortem. This is a World Cup survival situation. Think about the pressure. One game, one opportunity, one mistake could change everything. Win, the World Cup dream stays alive. Lose, South Africa could miss the 2027 Women's World Cup altogether. And that is an absolutely horrible position for Banyana to be in, because they should have been avoided. The goal should have been simple. Reach the semi-finals, qualify automatically, job done. Instead, South Africa now have to fight their way through one of the most dangerous teams on the continent. And Nigeria are not an easy out. Let's not pretend Nigeria are some ordinary opponent. They are the Super Falcons. They have experience. They have quality. They have players who understand pressure. And they know exactly what's at stake. Nigeria also have their own disappointment after failing to reach the Wafcon semi-finals as well. So they're going to be desperate. This isn't going to be a friendly. This isn't going to be some relaxed game. This is going to be war. Football war. Because somebody's World Cup dream is going to take a massive hit and go home. Two African giants. And that's what makes this so crazy. South Africa, Nigeria, two of Africa's biggest women's football nations, both expected to go deep into the Wafcon, both eliminated in the quarterfinals. And now they have to fight each other for a World Cup lifeline. One of these giants could potentially miss the World Cup. Think about it. This is where Banyana must respond. Now, despite everything I've said, I'm not giving up on Banyana. Absolutely not. Because the players still have the quality. They still have the experience. And they still have an opportunity. But now, there is no more room for excuses. Forget Morocco. Forget Tanzania. Forget the group. Forget the criticism. Beat Nigeria. That's the mission. And if Banyana beat Nigeria, the conversation changes. Immediately. Suddenly, we're talking about resilience. We're talking about character. We're talking about surviving adversity. But if they lose, then we have to have a very serious conversation about the direction of Banyana and the future of Desiree Ellis. What needs to change? First, the squad selection needs to be examined. Second, the starting 11 needs to be questioned. And third, the tactical approach needs to be more flexible. Fourth, the substitutions need to be more proactive. And fifth, Banyana need to become much more ruthless, because the Tanzania game showed us something. You can dominate periods of the game. You can create chances. You can have possession. But if you don't finish that job, football will punish you. So here's my verdict. Morocco deserved to beat South Africa. But Morocco are not the whole story. The real story started against Tanzania in that very first game. That was the match when Banyana had the opportunity to put themselves on the front foot. They didn't. And that defeat created pressure. Then came the fight for the group position. And that mattered because finishing first potentially offered the more favorable quarterfinal route instead of Morocco, Algeria. Instead of the host nation, a potentially more manageable opponent. Instead of fighting for survival, a potential semi-final. Instead of a playoff, automatic World Cup qualification. But football doesn't work on what if. Banyana didn't take advantage of the opportunity, and Morocco punished them. Now the consequences are enormous. No automatic World Cup qualification, a quarter-final exit, and now Nigeria's Super Falcons. One match, one chance, one World Cup dream. So Banyana, this is where you have to show us what you're made of. You've had the disappointment, you've had the criticism, you've had the setbacks. Now show us the response, because South Africa will still wants to see Banyana at the 2027 Women's World Cup. But now you have to earn it the hard way. Beat Nigeria and keep the dream alive, because if you don't, we're going to be asking some very uncomfortable questions. Was the squad good enough? Was the starting 11 right? Were the substitutions right? Did the coaching staff get the tournament strategy correct? And ultimately, did Banyana throw away a golden opportunity to qualify automatically for the World Cup? These are the questions. But for now, Nigeria stands in the way. South Africa versus Nigeria, Banyana versus the Super Falcons. Everything is on the line. And this time, there are no second chances. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. Subscribe to True Fire Reacts and let me know in the comments what you think. Who will win? Will South Africa win or will Nigeria win? Let me also know, do you still back Desiree Ellis? Was the Tanzania defeat the moment Banyana lost control of this tournament? And most importantly, can Banyana beat Nigeria and save their World Cup dream? I'll see you guys in the next one.